Well, not quite Holly, but it's close enough. Alright, so we're about 15 miles out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and we're going to do the approach mode. So we're going to click on the approach button. And you see it goes orange and it's asking to confirm. So I'm going to go yes, I want to confirm approach. And that brings us to our approach page. And all that information is now active on how the aircraft is going to fly. So when I come up here and I say go into managed mode, so it's an up click on the speed button. You can hear the engines are now spooling down. You'll notice there's a speed 128. That's my approach speed, is now showing in the on the speed tape, and we're going to slow down to 210 knots. Which is exactly what we want to happen. So the airport is now basically right off our wing there, about 13 miles away. So we're going to come, as you can see, we're going to come up, we're going to make this left turn. Let's zoom in a little bit. We're going to make this left turn, and then another left turn, and then come down and over here, and then we're going to intercept, and we'll come into land here. So it's created its own waypoints instead of using the ones that come in the flight data. Not much we can do about that. So yeah, this should be at 210. It takes us to 200. I don't know why. Sure, it's all stuff they're working on. So because we're not doing the actual approach, once we come over to this point after our left turn, I'm going to start our descent to 3,000 feet, which will be fine. I'm also going to, at this point, I'm going to turn on my terrain radar. Reason I'm doing that is because it clears the weather from my screen and leaves it up on the first officer's, which is great. I'm not too worried about terrain actually here. It's rather flat, but it does clear it for me, so it's a little bit easier for me to see. Oh, looks like we had a little bit of a wind shift there. So we're slowly climbing back to 7,000 feet. And this is one of the slowest parts of the flight, coming in like this, because you are slowing down. And sometimes it's a more straight-in approach. Other times it is a bit convoluted. Again, with ATC, they could be online and could cut a large chunk of this off and have you go straight in. Other times you're on your own, so you fly the published approach. Alright, so we're now going to make the turn to about 45 degrees. Hit about 1.5. There we go. So we're going to go to about 45 degrees. Let's see where that puts us. Probably a bit much. We'll go to about there. 75 degrees. You see, it kind of wants to take us on this weird routing, which isn't quite, it's similar, but not quite what we have in the on the charts. and again we'll do that turn and then we'll start our descent down to 3,000 feet, which is our intercept altitude. There's no concerns looking at the chart. There are maximum or minimum safe altitudes, and where we are right now it's 2,000 feet, and when we go back westward it's going to be 2,100 feet, so not concerned about 3,000 foot altitude. We'll be well above the ground. Alright, so again we want 1.5, and we're going to go to about, well, we'll go to 0 roughly, and then we'll see where we go from there. Alright, so we'll go to 355 and descending to 3,000 feet. And we'll go to our set altitude, or setting altimeter, and that's, make sure you stay on there. There we go. 1-1. Which is what we got when we did our weather check. So we're going to have to bring us around a little bit further to about there, about 335. Alright, 6,000 feet. Here's the clouds. You can see what a mess it would be trying to follow the route if we had the red and pink overlay all over us there. Again, we're going to 1.5, and then we'll head off in this direction of about 285. Start getting us lined up for the intercept. So we're a little bit slower than we normally would be, but it's fine. We'll go a notch this way just to start us heading in that direction. Well, 285. We're going to go another notch to 275. There we go. So we're halfway down now. That's 4,600 feet. So, approach checklist. Seatbelts, our signs are on, radios are all set. Speed is established at 210 knots. Landing lights checked on. Taxi light is checked on. Ground spoilers now come armed. They are now up and armed. Auto brake, not required. This is Gatwick. It's got a huge runway. Flaps is our next one. We're not going to slow down yet. We're going to hold it here at about 200. It's 4,100 feet. You see we've lost the ILS because we're kind of beside the beam now. We'll pick it up again when we get a little bit further down. There it is, just popped back in again. It's kind of a dead zone when you're directly perpendicular to it. So we've got about 11 miles to go before we make the next turn. And this is why the aircraft follow the published approaches. You can't see outside, you can't see other airplanes, you can't see the terrain, although the terrain's now starting to come in on the weather radar, or on the terrain radar. So you have to follow the established position. There could be aircraft in front of us, aircraft behind us, but we're all flying the same basic route, so the risk of any incidents is extremely reduced. So there's 3,300 feet. We're going to start to level off now. About 7 miles to go before we make that hard right turn to come around for the intercept. What we're going to see, and you can see it now, it's just starting, is the glide slope is now coming up because we are flying along at level and the glide slope angles up at a 3-degree angle. So as we go along, it's going to move upwards until we are now under it, so that we can fly into the glide slope to intercept it. You cannot intercept it from above. You have to cross that beam. And we've got rain on the window. You can see it there as we fly into the weather here. So I think I will go auto brakes 1 just to deal because of the rain. And that way the aircraft can control the braking. So you get a lot of that intercepts. You don't want to cut it too close because you have to give the aircraft time to intercept on that glide slope, which is why you've got to be underneath it when you do the intercept. A lot of people also use the localizer button. That's the one here that says, where is it? Right there, LOC. That's not used for an ILS. You use the approach, which is a localizer and glide slope. Localizer you use on a straight localizer approach, or if the glide slope part of the ILS is not working. All you need is the approach mode. It works just fine. Alright, so we're coming up to that point. So we are now going to make our turn to, we'll go up to 40. And at 3,000 feet. And everything will be good. So, $13 miles away from the airport. As we roll level, I'm going to go to flaps 1. That's going to slow our speed down to around 180 knots. And we'll keep that until we're established on the ILS localizer. And then we can start adding in the other bits of flapping gear. So there is that. So we're going flaps 1. Speed is now starting to reduce. And we'll go in approach mode. So you can see the indicator coming across on the screen. And we're now turning to track it. Oh, we've kind of blown through the other side. That's fine. We'll drop our range down a little bit more. But we're going to come over to intercept and line up on it. The glide slope is now starting to move as well. You should be able to see that there. The purple is coming down. And we'll come back over, and then this one will start moving back over to center. So we'll let the cabin crew know. Give them a ding.
Cabin crew, seats for landing.
And then you can see the localizer slowly starting to come back over as we edge in on it as well. So we're 9 miles out, 180 knots. Glide slope is coming in. Glide slope is captured. We're starting our descent, so we're going to go flaps 2. That's going to slow us down a little bit more. And once the flaps have finished moving and are established, when we hit 8 miles, we're going to go drop the gear. We're edging in on the localizer still. 8 miles. Gear down. It's going to start slowing us down a little bit more. I want to be established everything out by 6 miles. Alright, gears down 3 green. You don't hear it moving anymore. So we're going to go flaps 3. It's going to decrease our speed again. And it's going to slowly work us to our approach speed. And at 6 miles we'll go flaps full. And we will be configured for landing. Speed brake is fine. Parking brake is off. Speed is set. De-ice is on. It's everything good. Go around altimeter is set. 6 miles on the ILS. That's flaps full. You can see the localizer has come in again, and it's almost we're almost lined up perfectly. The glide slope is right there. Everything is looking good. We got a 31 knot headwind, but that'll decrease as we get closer to the ground. So we'll come up here into view. So final checks: landing gear is checked down, autopilot as required, go around altitude is set, thrust is set, landing memo no blue, landing speed is in managed mode. So we are good. Starting to see the ground through the mist. So our decision height, if you remember, is 100 feet. So at 100 feet, we have to be able to see the runway in order to land, or we're going around. Spoiler, we're landing. We can see the ground now when we're 1,100 feet up, so it's not going to be an issue. Although it is quite foggy out. So everything is good. We're all lined up. Thousand feet to go. Autopilot's on. I'm letting the autopilot handle it because we can't see the runway. So let the aircraft bring us down nice and smooth. To help you make sure that you're facing fully forward and you're properly lined up with the travel of the aircraft. Just makes it easier to see things. Wind is slowly dropping. It is raining. See, the runways are starting to appear. I can start to see lights coming in. We're getting bounced around a little bit with turbulence. Terrain is coming in. That terrain will disappear at 500 feet and give us a clear screen. There's the runways ahead of us. 08 left and 08 right. It's 500 feet. Just going to talk you through it as I go. Autopilot is still on. I'm going to leave the autopilot on to about 100 feet. Just to keep us lined up as we bounce around. Winds are now straight down the pipe at about 15 knots. They should keep decreasing a little bit as we get closer, down to 13 knots. Moving slightly to the left, 400 feet. Airport's fully in sight, no issues. It is raining. We're above the glide slope, that's fine. It gets a little bit inaccurate as you get really close to the airport. You can see where we're headed. Touchdown zone is in view. We're perfectly lined up with the runway.
100 above.
100 above minimums, not an issue. We can see the airfield. Everything is looking good.
Minimum.
Continue. Autopilot is off.
50, 40, 30.
Throttle 0.
20, 10,
Just hold the flare. Let her settle down.
5.
Touchdown. Keep running center line. Reversers are green. Auto brakes are active. Slowing down. Passing 100 knots. $60 knots. Reversers off. Tap the brakes. Auto brakes are now off. High-speed taxi coming up on the left. That's Delta, which we want. We're now going to taxi and get off the runway. Never want to sit on the runway.
To London Gatwick. The local time is 12:31 p.m. and it's currently about 4 degrees Celsius. You can now use your mobile devices. Please remain seated until the aircraft has come to a complete stop and the seatbelt sign is turned off. Remember to use caution when opening the overhead bins as items may have shifted during the flight. If this is your final destination, we thank you for flying with us. If you're making a connection, we encourage you to check your itinerary.
So we've stopped here because this is another runway ahead of us.
We apologize for the delay. Please coordinate with airline staff as necessary regarding connecting flights or accommodations.
Yeah, we're late. Okay, so as we landed, once we were down, tower would have said turn left on Delta, contact ground on 123.45. That's what we would do as soon as we were ready to go. There's a few things we have to do now that we've landed. First thing we got to do, disarm the spoilers. We're going to retract the flaps, get them up. Engine mode selector. If we were coming in extremely heavy rains, we would have had it on ignition just to prevent a flame out. We'd put that back to normal. At this point, landing lights will come off, and strobe lights will come off since we're no longer in the air, though. You do put strobe lights and landing lights on when you cross an active runway. I'm going to turn on the runway turn-off lights just because it's dark out. Anti-ice would all come off, but I'm going to leave the probe heat one on. The APU, we're going to start the APU, although there should be ground power at the gate. Brake temperatures. It wasn't a hard braking situation, so I'm not too worried about that. We'll go to the wheels page. All the temperatures are fine. Transponder. This is where we start turning off some stuff. So we'll turn off the transponder, and the TCAS can go back to normal. And then we're going to go to the PWS and weather radar. Shut those off. You don't want the weather radar active near people. It is a high energy system, and it can cause problems. APU is up and running. It's coming up. Elevator trim will go to takeoff settings. So if we go to our flight controls, you see our trim's at 1.4. We were 1.1 on the trim, so that will go to 1.0. That's fine. And that is set. So we now all set up. We get clearance to taxi. Actually, it's raining. Why not? Put the wipers on. We're going to taxi now across and head to our gate. And we are going to gate 105 today. So we're going to taxi out here. We're going to cross. We're going to go on Romeo. And there's the tower. It's the APU clicking away there. We're going to go on Romeo here. And that's going to take us up to Juliet. There we go. And Juliet's going to be the right here. And this is the freeware airport. I mean, doesn't that look fantastic? And unlike the default, where this is just a brick across the way, you can actually taxi under the bridge, like in real life. It's incredible. And you're going to see the landing system you put in, or the parking system at the gates. It's excellent. All right, so we're going to taxi around here. And again, we're going to gate 105. Yeah. So we're going to taxi all the way down here to Papa. There you can see the signs for the remote gates here. And 105 is vacant. I can see it from here. All right, again, watching that speed. So we're coming up to Papa. Make the turn. Oh, there's France over there. We're going to go in on Kilo, which is the next left. Doesn't this look great? I think it looks fantastic. Having a good detailed airport with stuff that actually works and looks proper, and You can go inside some of the terminals too. He's got it with benches and everything. You can actually stand inside and look out the window at your airplane at the gate, which I've done. It's pretty neat. All right, so here we go. We'll go by the Lot Airlines flight. I think we're parking by the Portugal. So you can look at the, there's gate 104. That's where the Lot guy is, and there's 105 coming up. So before we go in, we're going to turn off the taxi lights, just so we don't blind the ground guys that are working there. And we're going to come in. Now, watch the approach lights for parking. You can see them ahead of us there beside, on the left of the number sign. They are going to guide us into our parking spot. So you want to have 2 red lights. There we go. All right, so you want to have 2 red lights. Let's see if I can get it. There we are. We're lining up now. There's the red lights coming in, and that means you're left to right, and you're looking at the green and orange, and when they disappear, that's when you're going to hit the brakes. So they're going, and stop. So now that we're here, we'll put on the parking brake, and if we go outside, take a look at that. Like, how is that for parking? I mean, this guy has done a fantastic job. That is, I'm slightly to the right of the line, but that is just awesome. Perfect positioning at the gate. So we're here now. What do we do? Well, we got to do our shutdown, so we'll turn the wipers off. So this is the way I do it. I don't shut the aircraft down completely. I just shut off the main system so we can get out of here. First thing is going to be get in and get the jet bridge over. Thank you very much. Should be moving. Yes, it is. Okay, so the parking brakes are set. Engines are at idle. Thrust levers are at idle. Ignition is set. Ground contact has been made. Ground operations as required. They're moving the stuff in. Electrical power. So we could either go with APU, which is available, or, as you can see here, our external power is illuminated, saying it's available, so we're going to turn that on. So we're now on external power. We give it a second. We can shut off the APU. We're not going to need it because we're hooked up to the external power. We come down here to the engines, and we shut them down. Engine 2's down, engine 1's down. We're going to go to the logbook, which is annoying. Now we can continue. So parking brakes confirmed on. The beacon lights will go off. We'll leave the nav lights on. Exterior lights, everything is off except the nav lights. Anti-ice will come off. The passenger signs and the portable devices will come off. The doors should open as soon as the jet bridge is there. There we go. So the passengers are up and moving and doing their thing. Flight directors and landing systems will come off on both sides. The approach mode auto throttles can come off. APU bleed not required. Fuel pumps will all be shut down. So we go back up and shut off the fuel pumps. The beacon light is off. We'll do an ECAM message check on the bottom here. There is this one right here, which is the system button, so it'll tell us if there's any issues. There's no issues. We can do recall for any messages, but it's all good. The panel lights we'll leave on. The adheres we could shut off, we'll leave on. No smoking signs are fine. APU and batteries as required. That's the way I end my flight. This is the way I leave the aircraft at the end of the day, and at this point, we will unlock the door. There we go. First Officer George can get out and say goodbye to everybody, and we start doing paperwork. I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial. It's been a pleasure making it for you, hopefully answering questions about what things do. And if you do have any questions, please leave them below. If you like what I've done, if you like what I do here on the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, throw a comment down, give me a big thumbs up. Again, I stream on weekends. Notifications go up usually Thursday or Friday on what day it's going to be, so you can join me on a live stream if you want and ask me questions there. It is all good. Once again, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll leave you. I don't want to go into the building here, but I'll leave you sitting on top of the jet bridge here, enjoying the views of rainy Gatwick Airport on this January day. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.